Hello, this your girl again, your anti girl from the spirit world. Well, we're going to be talking about this movie that just came out that people keep on promoting called The Woman in the Yard. Now, Miss Shed did not, Prophet Elise Lachelle Shed did not watch this movie, but I pretty much got the gist of it, and then I would look on Wikipedia. It tells you the whole synopsis. I kind of saw when I saw the video of the commercial, that's the spirit. I always try to get more intel about what kind of spirit it is, and then first I got part of the spirit correctly, and then when I did more research and looked more about the synopsis and the premise of the video, then I realized, oh, it's a spirit connected to this spirit, because there are such things as grouping spirits. When one spirit attached to you, then other spirits will attach to you as well. Well, the woman in the yard, now if you want to go see this movie, I'm finna mess it up for you in just about a few minutes or so. Well, The Woman in the Yard is about a woman who recently was in an accident and she tragically lost her husband. And of course, she's in what they call the grieving process with her 2 kids in this house. And of course, later on, it doesn't take long, she starts seeing this apparition of this spirit sitting in the grass, sitting in the yard in all black. And they call her the woman in the yard. And of course, she starts to speak back to the lady saying, I'm coming for you and your kids, letting them know that, I'm coming, and all this other stuff happened on in her trying to prevent this spirit from taking over. Well, the Lord, when I first saw the video, the Lord told me that's a spirit of grief. But when it comes to grief, any type of trauma or tragedy in your life, and you don't get therapy, you don't get help, you don't get deliverance, you don't speak to the mighty counselor above, Jesus Christ, you don't get a actual Christian counselor or somebody help you go through the process of healing and coping and, getting your head, to understand the process of the pain and the suffering, then other spirits will, attach itself. So when I initially saw it, of course, you're thinking, I'm assuming grief spirit. Lord said, look at the synopsis, look at the premise. Then to come to find out, as she was grieving, she was starting to get suicidal. And so the manifestation that she saw was the manifestation of the suicidal spirit that comes with grief or comes with trauma or something that is so, painful that this spirit will actually tell you it's time for you to end it all. So this spirit, grief, not only will come upon you and cause you to become suicidal, then it'll start affecting everybody around you. That this spirit will start to overtake them. And of course, this spirit was coming after them because sometimes people grieve to the point where they kill themselves. They might kill the rest of the family. So this woman was seeing a manifestation of grief and the suicidal spirit connected to the lady in that outside and the woman in the yard saying, I'm coming for you. That was that spirit saying, I'm coming for you, I'm coming for your kids. Because when it comes to the suicidal spirits, it comes to spirits of death and destruction. They're come to kill, steal, destroy, for real, for real. The grief part is painful in itself. Then if you're not careful and you don't stay prayed up, you don't get the support you need to cope with the trauma, with the grief, then other spirits will come in and start tormenting you. So not only was she being tormented, she also had a suicidal spirit. Then she had a destructive spirit. Then she had not only the grief spirit was with her, but the grief is real. Grief can become a spirit. Watch smile. It become a point where it'll pass on to another person, And what was happening, these spirits going to be passed on to the children to the point that she will kill herself and her kids because she cannot handle, the loss of her husband. Some people cannot handle stuff. They can't handle being, ridiculed or bullied or hurt or abused, or nobody can always handle that or get the help they need. You're seeing this, even in another situation where a boy stabbed another boy. There's a lot of things that happen in these minds, and it be spirits attached to it. And it also be free will, because you don't have to succumb to that spirit. But if you don't have the Holy Ghost, you don't have a prayer life, you're not reading your word, and you don't have people around you, I'm not trying to sound like I'm hooping, but if you don't have nobody around you your coping, your support system, somebody to help cope, somebody help you cope with it, get through the process, because there is a process in getting rid of, dealing with grief, dealing with pain, trauma, and abuse. And they also have a disorder for it, PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. Disorder. I'm saying it wrong. Let me say it correctly. So that's what she was dealing with. And some men come out the military, or even women, killing themselves because of the stress and the trauma. They could not cope with it. So all of this was groupings. That lady sitting out in the yard was not just one, it was many. And if you watch the movie, just spoil your whole self by reading on Wikipedia.com, it give you the whole plot. Spoiler alert. And so you realize that suicidal and all this other stuff was coming on until she came to herself. And nothing, transpired tragedy, any other tragedy. She was able to, realize what it was and get a grip on it. And spirits will manifest. They made it seem like it was some horror, but sometimes, like Flight Club, that was all in his mind. I didn't realize that years later, Brad Pitt, that was all the spiritual fighting in your mind. The greatest battleground is in your mind. That's why the enemy tried to take your mind. There's other movies like that where I was watching one with Viola Davis. I don't know why I'm going. Viola Davis and then Jennifer Lopez. I'm thinking these are two different women. No. One was a manifestation of what happened to her child that got killed. And so that vengeful spirit was in the form of, I can't recall which one either was Viola Davis or J-Lo. That's another one where they'll have a spirit manifest as a person, and you think this actual person is really manifest, but it's not. Now, I believe Never Let Go and Halle Berry's like that too. Some of these are not necessarily an actual person. They are the spirits that manifest in whatever situation or whatever, circumstance they're in. So this was my intel on that type of spirit. Those grouping spirits where they group up in relation to trauma, grief, things like that happen in your life. And if it's not dealt with, they'll accumulate and they'll keep coming with more and more and more. That's why when it comes to deliverance, you might need to you get delivered by the one spirit. But then you got by about 7, 8. That's why there's people that actually have legion. Is when you have 70 spirits, like Mary in the Bible. But then when you have 20 and 30 and 40, you got to get some deliverance from every spirit that added on because they attached themselves. They all get related, said, oh, she got this spirit. Let's hop on. Same way with any other spirits, the cousin, Pookie, Ray, Bubba spirits come right up on there, and then you have a grouping. So that was my intel on grouping spirits. So be mindful. When you're getting attacked, sometimes you get attacked by more than one spirit. Especially as you elevate God. Don't think you're going to have one of those spirits. Little imp, little spirit, you just rebuke, blow them away by rebuking. No. The more you grow, the more they're going to come at you. And then when things happen in your life, got to be watching, guarding your gates and portals. So make sure you like, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you follow me on TikTok. Got more intel for you. Check your portals.